And the only promise to them was 7 figures number by end of year. We hit that in first 6 months. We just did this much of scrolling on that screen and we were like, we need this guy. Where do you feel you are right now? Came up with Nodeops as a name, with the first target language, simplifying the life for node operators.
What do you think is more challenging?
I'll be honest with you, I've got capital enough. This is a big risk, of course, had to pitch to my dad. Yeah, that was our first pitch.
But let's just roll back now. Who is Naman? First of all, starting up with your engagement, congratulations on that.
Huge, thank you so much.
And how do you feel like this phase of life where you're a founder, getting married? There's also a lot of momentum that's going along with Nodeops. Where do you feel you are right now?
Okay, firstly, yeah, I know it's a very big decision overall and perhaps the toughest one, but one thing was she's been very supportive so far. That helps a lot. As you know, how life is somewhat different than a traditional founder overall, but you have tons of things to handle and sometimes things go south, but she's been, yeah, my backbone and the support for so long now. So feels good, feels special enough to always have that one special person in your life that's gonna look back and just take you out of this work soon whenever you meet. And yeah, that's something I admire. And yeah, super excited for this new and journey as well.
What do you think is more challenging, right?
I think this one, getting into this decision, honestly, because for me, I've always been that person who would like to build something new and start something new and solve some problems since like my engineering days, be it research, be it building our products. So I think that part of it is something I've done multiple times. So I was okay with it. But this one was like a permanent, there is no vesting here. It's like 100% lockup throughout the year. And I like that. Like, definitely toughest one. Had to ensure that family is comfortable with it. I'm comfortable with this decision.
And so you we're like, since you mentioned it, so would like to zoom in. You talk about like that she's been very supportive. How important do you think are like just having that partner and how dynamics it change, how much it like impacts you in being a better person or better operator as a whole? And what are those key characteristics like if you generally feel like you would look for in a partner, and how important those are for you?
Okay, so let's go back. 2023 was when, like, personally, I was at a stage where I had to decide, if you want to pursue Nodeops to an extent where we are today, to take that call, that, all right, let's go all in. So during those stages, you definitely need to have someone who is thinking independent of all the biases. Of course, you can take advice from the founders and folks from the industry, but you also need some general just some perspective externally in terms of what are the risks associated with this decisions and all. And fortunately, she comes from like a sales and business background, so that helps a lot to like get those matured conversations as well. So I think accepting the routine for a person like me who like used to sleep for 4 hours and never got chance to have another like except work. I think she accepted that very well and took me out of that work life to also get some peace of mind. So whenever we meet, like it's always, just give me your phone and let's put it on DLE for next 1 hour. Of course, not more than that, but at least for that hour, she'll be very clear that, let's just talk. So I think that is something that I really wanted, like someone to just be there and talk about everything else except work, to cut me off so that I can confess, I can talk about the challenges been faced, how was the day. She takes care of it. So maturity in those things, accepting the fact that both of our lives are going to be different. There is huge risk associated with my life overall in terms of these decisions, and it's going to be up and down every time now and then, but she keeps me consistent enough to keep that pushing. I think that's what I admire and respect as well. Of course, when we have to travel a lot, that's the biggest part, because you've been in conferences as well. Like you literally don't get time. You even sleep during those days because you have to meet so many people from BD front, and that was the first time that hit me. She's not gonna be talking to me for like next 2 days. So it's the tough one. But I think that worked out well because she accepted it, and she had been honest enough so far with just giving me all the pointers in terms of, look, you know, to maintain these bonds, there are certain things that you have to do. I took that break at the year end where they don't just spend the entire week with her, just cut off from work. Entire Nodeops team was off for that week. And we had our annual report on 24th, and like I think it was 6 p.m. or something. And I just said, that's a wrap for 2024. See you on 2nd Jan. Dare you call me for next 6 days unless and until server is down. And all of you, I promise you that I won't disturb you or budge you for next 6 to 7 days. And we took a really good time off. Kudos to the team that they ensure that everything is in place because we actually launched something just a week before that.
So you talk about like this team that took such responsibility. Just I want to know about like how did you go about like building this team? Talked about like how much like time they spent together. A lot that Nodeops team was able to do even by like few people with a very lean team. Walk me through a little bit of journey of like how did you go about building this team? What was the thought process? If were like big wins, some of the mistakes that you did, if there are any like during building this piece.
Absolutely. So April 2023 was when I had this thought of, we come from infra background. Why don't we just open the doors for retail to come in and participate as node operators? Because this entire industry was very much, biased with like a very selected set of players who are having major AUM and not giving an opportunity for new entrants to come in because there were too many barriers, right? You need liquidity, you need to get in like for those foundation delegations to some extent. And that just hit us with like, why don't we just build like a one-click layer? And the first version that we built out was like an AI-powered layer where you just have to write a prompt that, hey, I want to run a validator node and give the parameters, and it would just give you the script and it could have one deploy button right there. Of course, not everyone is too comfortable with that chat GPT sort of view. They really want to get feel of building it out. So that was the first iteration that me, Prateek, and JD built out as part of one of the hack on Dora hacks. Like it was quadratic funding round, and we just wanted to try it out. We went well. We won that quadratic funding round, and that gave us a good validation. But idea is good. UI can be improved. Of course, we can bring in more offerings, but do you think we should go all in? Like that was the decision that we had to take in August. 3 to 4 months, we built out one more version of it, which you now see as Nodeops console. But initially, it was focused to only one thing, which was Celestia Light Notes. So we ended up giving like an Amazon checkout experience to people where you select the number of quantity and just click on deploy. We'll take care of the rest. And people used to like feel very comfortable with that experience as compared to that AI powered interface, where you have to still write a statement rather than 2 clicks here. So now we literally pivoted and decided that, not pivoted, but we scrapped that idea of making it like a chat interface driven to like a simple SaaS of a one-click layer, which would just sign it with your email, select the number of nodes you want to deploy, how long want you deploy, and that's it. So that went really crazy. Like we got around 14,000 light nodes deployed within a very short span. And this was when Celestia was running those light node campaigns, if you remember. Nick used to post those screens everywhere. So I was like, this is really good. And we catered to like mobile first audience. So even if you look at Nodeops console video on YouTube, you'll always find like mobile first interface of it. Because that was a dream for me, to be honest, like letting people deploy the nodes from phones. And it worked out really well. But after that, we saw this new trend of node sales coming in. Fast forward to like January, from November till Jan, we had like so many projects reaching out to us and just telling that, you know what, we just want you to maintain our nodes and operate our nodes and just ensure that they don't get down. like maintain the uptime so that we can keep accruing rewards. And it's a very unique architecture, and none of the guys actually built that out so far. So we were the first one to try it out and first one to go live with. And within first 6 days of that launch of Zai Games, where we introduced Nodeops console with second chain integration, which was Zygates. Zygates was like, you had these very unique set of people coming in who are like with Celestia, the target audience was people who still know what nodes are, still know what the architecture is, and still know what they expect from it. But with Zai Games, it was all pure gaming retail community that had no clue about nodes. All they wanted was, I'll pay you and ensure that you keep my nodes up so that I can keep on accruing rewards. We went live with Zai Games within 2 days, like got around 250 game impressions on socials. Still 3-member team. There was no marketing guy, nothing. The first tweet that I did was just a screen recording of our interface and just said that, Zai buys, this is the Nodeops console for you. Go ahead and deploy. And that's where like we got huge amount of interest from other protocols as well. Like, this is crazy, we need this. This is the most useful product right now for our community to have these nodes been running, and we can truly decentralize. So with Zai, the game moved towards like next stages. Still 3-member team till February. We only had 3 members initially with till February, and that's when like we decided at least we need one more guy or two more guys to take care of this infra demand, because almost 12 to 15% of Zai nodes came to us within first month. And these guys were subscribing for like 12 months at least. So the LTV right now was 18 months right now. And that time it was like max duration on our platform was 12 months. And these guys was like 60 to 65% subscribed for 12 months because we made it the cheapest offer out there. And they loved it. Like, and I was like, okay, now nice. At least we know how much we can make now because we know the recurring revenue that could come in. Still bootstrapped. We had only that grant money and some of the capital. So me, Pratik, Jerry, we were like just doing it because we wanted to try it out. But eventually it turned into a business offering where Nodeops console became like a go-to for everything around nodes, right? And then we hired 2 more guys to take these infra needs. So 5-member team till May. And till May, we launched around, after Zai, we launched 4 more chains. We crossed 6 figures revenue in first 2 months. We crossed 7 figures in next 3 months. So double down on revenue and 7 figures by end of Q2. And that was like shocker for me. And I never expected, to be honest, that people would take that product so seriously. And the only feedback that we got always was like UI looks super neat and super sick. And kudos to Jerry for that. Like, he took care of it single-handedly. We never had designers. We never had marketeers. But even when I tweet about it, people feel like it's animated or something. But nothing. I was doing a screen recording on my Mac and pushing it off. So then guys took care of everything in terms of maintaining these nodes, and Pratik single-handedly built that infra with 2 more guys supporting, and that was the team. That was the team to close 5 million round for us. So 5 people, 5 million round, 7 figures revenue. And yeah, that's when we actually decided that, all right, now we know that there are going to be more chains coming in because everyone were already signing up the deals. We need a bigger team. So from May till now, like scaled up from 5 members to 20 members deep. Still a smaller one, but majority of them coming from engineering background, because now you've got a variety of offerings, more structured conversations with clients. You need marketing guys, you need BD guys to ensure that this funnel keeps on consistently growing. And yeah, that's the journey. So from June till today, like, I'm not overhired a lot. Like, one thing that I really wanted to ensure that we don't mess up is gonna be hiring. So every time we knew that there is a certain demand that is expected to come in, I just used to take 45 days before that to evaluate. And do we need someone? Hire that person in 1 week or 2. Just reach out to everyone that you know and I know I reached out to you as well. Just give me some good guys around this particular domain, talk to them, and just wrap that process in 2 weeks so that you have at least 4 to 5 weeks to groom them up for that launch so that they can take the ownership over. So that's my hiring strategy, to be honest. Like, just take 2 weeks to find someone, ensure that they're good at their role, whatever they're, hired for, and groom them for first 3 to 4 weeks so that they get up to speed. And after that, they are all solo one-man warrior of sort. Like, that's something that I will do. Just bless you. Yeah.
When you say, how do you source these people is the important question.
Primarily, it's always been friends and like angels and like founders who have indefinitely believed in whatever we have done so far. I used to reach out to them first, like be it Sandeep, be it Rishi. Like, all I used to tell them is looking to get these guys in, and we ensured that from February we had like our first check in Feb, and the last check in like May for that round. From February till like December, we've ensured that every month we used to send those investor update. The biggest section there in highlight used to be hiring. And during those hiring, like, we used to give the current team structure, what are we looking to hire, and what's like the overall expectations from our end for those roles. And they used to come back with some resources, and that worked out. Then we got some recruiting agencies as well that, of course, both Sandeep and Rishi, connected us with, and they did tremendous job to get us the fuel where Nodeops is. That was our strategy.
That's amazing. And it's good to see, like, founders going out of their way to help other founders as well. And I think it just comes down to, as they say, like, the most important thing is to ask for help.
Yeah.
That becomes like a major challenge, right?
I used to be very conservative about it initially. Like, for first 6 months, I was like, they just trusted us. I should not be like just going out and asking like, I need connects with these guys or something. But whenever I faced problem and it was like out of my reach, I just used to talk to them very comfortably in asking. And this goes to all the backers. Like, fortunately, Nodeops has always got this huge amount of angels that have been supporting us since day one, be it BD, be it marketing, be it literally introductions, or be it hiring as well. So that's like an extended team for us. And that trust was very important because they knew that we had a very short resources, right? We had only 6 to 7 members for first 6 months, and they very well accepted that. And you focus on what your strengths are, rest all will try to help you externally.
What's been your most difficult ask out of like your team or your investors so far, if you have to think of one?
Like, I would just touch upon Atlas right now, but I'll come to the entire game plan later. But the toughest task was to think of Atlas more from non-Web3 perspective, right? Because these guys have been just doing nodes for 6 to 7 months. And when we had the first conversation around Atlas, it was more of think about how you can bring in a B2B business to this and think from those perspectives that would help you build out the architecture. This was more from engineering standpoint that we build out something for scale or we don't. As simple as that. If your infra is not able to handle it, it doesn't make sense. I'm not here to just cater to like 2,000, 3,000 users overall. We've reached at a 75K monthly active users, and I want to stick to that. Now with Atlas coming in, how can we ensure that we can compete with the best in the game in terms of performance, in terms of user adoption as well? So that was the biggest ask because their thought process had always been right now laser focused towards the nodes and integrations and potential opportunities that we can mention into to take them out from that zone and to think about something. We used to do like ideathons almost every alternate Saturday, where we used to have one session of explaining the problem statement and then just divide the team internally. And we used to invite our investors to come in, be judge, and we used to have battle line and losers pay for the treat for the day. So that was like a fun activity to do, but it took like insane amount of time to convince them to just get their zone, they get their thinking out of that, entire work zone and just come up with some innovative thoughts. With investors, it's a different game. The toughest ask for investors personally, if you ask me, was, none of them pressurized us in terms of, you have a deadline in terms of PGE, or you have certain, um, you know, metrics or targets to reach, because they are looking at our growth. And the toughest ask for them was just give us some feedbacks in terms of like where we can improve more, what are other things that we can venture into? Is there any opportunity for us beyond this as well? So that was like something where, yeah, we got huge amount of feedbacks, like, you know, thing from providing like a DeFi type UX if possible, because, DGen Web3 are always going to be DeFi centric users. How can you think about the UX to be in those aspects? Do you have any opportunity? How can you introduce more rewards and yields and loyalty points or something on your platform? That's when we designed the entire point system. So we did have any node points or any loyalty system for 6 months. But after talking with the backers, that's when we realized that, all right, to ensure that they stick with us and upgrade with us and they subscribe for a longer duration, you need to incentivize them, a typical loyalty system overall. Um, so yeah, we designed it, got it validated by a couple of our backers, and that was a biggest learning for us and the ask on them.
It's amazing. So this is one part that to zoom in is talking about like Pratik and JD. You mentioned that they come up in conversation a lot. You guys stayed together for like almost like 8 months of the initial period.
Yeah.
The office was in your flat. It's always said that the most important part is choosing your founders.
Yeah.
It's just like that is about making or breaking any startup. Just walk me through what was the decision of starting with Pratik and JD? What's been the background? How do you guys came to know each other? And then coming on to this decision to work together on Nodeops.
Sure. So Pratik is my batchmate. So we knew each other since our college days. He was the guy who people used to go for any kind of infra assignments, and he was like those ultimate guy. Whenever he used to go in those communal labs, you could hear him type. So there was like people used to be scared of him in terms of like the way his thought process was, and he becomes like those crazy kick-ass microservices guy and building out some things on it. So I knew him since then. And I used to like conduct some workshops in my college for Web3 blockchain and all, and that's when we got to know about each other, because no one was bullish on Web3 or blockchain in that time. And there were still like 70, 80 odd people coming every weekend just to learn the tech at basics. And this guy was coding at that time very aggressively. And I was like, interesting. And so I got introduced to Pratik in my college days itself. In my previous venture, we needed someone from infra and DevOps front, and I just knew one guy who I could bet on, and I can say that he can handle it single-handedly, and that was Pratik. Bought him from Gujarat to Bangalore like just overnight. That, bro, you need to be here. He put down his resignation right after coming to Bangalore, not before. So that was like getting Pratik introduced to this Web3 world. Within first 2 months itself, this guy was like, you guys are like building out very shitty architecture overall, right? And used to provide open source contributions to Cosmos ecosystem, work with like talk with Jacob. It takes guts to talk with that guy, but he used to talk with him, give him some pointers, and I was like insane. This works, and he's been like a Kubernetes ninja. That's how we used to call him, and I still call him. But like he's done insane amount of work into it. Built out good toolings overall. And we had one pitch session when we hosted one event previously, 2022 or something, where Pratik had this like 55-inch screen and he was presenting some diagram which I could not even understand. And I'm 100% sure those 90% people in that room couldn't even get anything out of it. But there were like two people, like Matthew from Sino. He was there, and Wish was also there. Like a couple of these guys, they were looking at it and they invited us next day to talk about it. I felt like, all right, if I start something, Like, this is the way I want it to be, where it gets validated first and then people ask us to chat. So from business point of view, I was like, I can rely purely on one guy to take care of it. Now, we bought Pratik, and next task was, we need someone from front end side. And so I just asked Pratik, do you know someone? So Pratik said, yeah, I have my teacher who I think can come in. And I said, oh, what do you mean, my teacher? So he said that, yeah, I learned basics of front end from a guy named GD. And he's also based out of Gujarat. He is a YouTuber, so you can search his account. You'll find like all his videos and animations and all the things that they've done in UI UX and all of it. And I just tell, like, give me the portfolio or some resume or something. So Jerry sent me one single link that was his website for himself. And I just did, I'm not kidding, like, you can validate with everyone who was with me in the previous team. Like, we just did this much of scrolling on that screen. Yeah. And we were like, we need this guy. Like, we didn't even open anything because the neatness and the detailing that he did just in those hovering of the screens, I've never seen that before. And trust me, I built out product that was acquired by Yuda's payment provider, but this guy did insanely well. So I was like, how do we get him? Just like Pratik called him, next day he was in Bangalore, and same process. Like, he started with us, so me, Pratik, JD worked together before Nodeops for 2.5 years. That was like our journey, and then we definitely ended up into three different parts. I was working on something else. Pratik was DevOps lead at one of the projects. Jerry was also working with something. So I was like, guys, we need to come back again. There is a hackathon going on. And I've been following this quadratic funding for a while because I really like that concept overall. We just said, let's build something out. So during our free time, we just thought of this. I came out with this name because I knew that Pratik is the biggest strength for him is infra and validators and stuff. So we've been running nodes throughout the introduction of Pratik from day one till today. So I knew that his strength is always going to be this, and my responsibility is to ensure that it goes out with the best strategy overall, and he did that. So we came up with Nodeops as a name, with the first tagline with simplifying the life for node operators. That's what we introduced in that hackathon as well, and it went well. I talked about it, like, we won that. JD built out the UI. I just had to be there. And I come from a computer science background, so got into coding again, build out those AI chatbots and stuff, train the model, all those things. And that's when I felt like, all right, these guys didn't even ask for a single penny for 3 months during this phase, but they still built out with me personally. And I just felt like, they like it. They have that passion and that grit to go beyond the limits. And that's what I admired. And the minute we saw an opportunity that, we can present it to the external world, we did that. Like, we presented it in IBW first, won some hackathon or something. Polygon team also supported us during those days. So I was like, all right, now I think it's time now. So Pratik and me, we just decided, let's forget everything else, put up papers and just come to officially full time build this out. JD had some thoughts, this is a big risk. Of course, he's 5 years elder to us, so he had to take those calls. I said, I'll be honest with you, I've got capital enough for three of us, but I don't have capital to build a team overall. If you trust me, give me 4 months. And that's what we did. They trusted. Within 4 months, we didn't take a single penny. Like, till April, even after getting the funding, we didn't take a single penny because I wanted to build a team. I wanted to ensure that we reach to certain limits, certain extent. And the only promise to them was, like, we'll hit those 7 figures number by end of year. We hit that in first 6 months, and they were like, I think this is good. So yeah, that was a journey to start together. And for the first 6 months to 7 months, we've been literally, I took like a duplex 4 BHK villa of sort where we converted the ground floor into our office. with like 3 tables joined, or I think 8 to 10 chairs. We didn't need that much, but we just had it because, yeah, Prateek needs like a huge space. I don't know if you've seen his screen, but he had like a humongous space, and everyone gets annoyed with his typing. Uh, and he used those mechanical keyboards of sorts. I was like, oh, God, like, you stay away from us and you're typing. So we took that space overall, and about 6 months, it was fun. Believe me, it was fun to just have a new joiner coming in. We're interviewing him there. We're also offering him, would you like to have dinner with us? So it was fun, and I think we had one of our batchmates joining us as well. This like he joined in with us in the initial days. Really liked it. Um, and he had a full time role, but he then decided that again, fuck that. They come here to work with you guys single handedly. Managed our back end stuff very crazily, and that's how we built the team. Like for the first 15 members, I knew them personally throughout their past experience, and I'm somewhere or the other connected with them. So like I don't want to mess up hiring. Like that's why the first 15 members purely came on trust, some way or the other. And after that, we had to make the team global, hired some folks throughout the globe, one from Korea, Europe, US, Germany, and yeah, that was our scaling strategy.
Nice. Amazing. We talked a lot about like Nodeops, a little bit touched upon like what's future gonna be looking like for your marriage soon. But let's just roll back now and talk about who's Naman. How did he come about? What's been some of the biggest challenges for you? Like maybe just growing up, then early career to like or big opportunities that have now have shaped you as a person to sort of like all of these experiences that you mentioned and like how they have played out. I feel like it's always based on like your past experiences, chip on the shoulders, different things. So just yeah, what's been the story of Naman?
Okay. Um, I've never talked about this, but like I come from a very small town in Maharashtra. And my family, all of them are engineers. My dad and brother were mechanical engineers. Super good in maths. I always had that passion for numbers overall. Grew up with them with like a huge pressure to get that JEE thing in place, getting into IITs and stuff. Typical Indian dream overall. My brother aimed for it. I also did, got some of it, but I always wanted to stick to computer science overall. Did my graduation along with Prateek from an university in Gujarat. Um, After that, like during my college days itself, from second year, I've been working on something. Yes, like first internship was with IBM. Second one was with one of the startups that was building in solar. So like before 2017, like before 2019, you always had these use cases around enterprise blockchains, hyperledger, private blockchains, like track and trace solutions were the hello world of blockchain that during those days. IBM was working on it, so got some opportunity to work on it. Went into one of the automotive industry's largest one, called Bosch. There was like a research department there, Center of Excellence department, which gave me an opportunity to work upon some kick-ass research stuff. So I was working on micropayments and uh, something called autonomous agents, not AI agents, but these were like autonomous agents. So Fetch AI team, he was the one that was working during those days. So I was working with from Bosch with Fetch AI team and a couple of other folks as well from like I was interning there. But like the Center of Excellence department gave like a good opportunity for us. I like during college, like I used to do a lot of research papers, and that's how I got into Bosch. Like they loved one of the research work, and they said like, "Would you like to try it out?" Gave me a grant, and that was like the first official funding of sort for me. That they gave me a grant to build this out. You just said that with your own team, you have all the Bosch resources with you. So yeah, did that for a while, for like 3 to 4 months. Uh, Filed 2 patents. Submitted around close to 4 research papers, still my Posh internship days. And after that, I was like, I saw this huge push towards payment stuff, payment infra, and also build out like a social payment extension with a couple of folks that used to reward users on e-commerce transaction, right? And this was when like you had nothing in terms of like payment bridges and stuff. This was 2020, right? Everyone was just talking about social fi and payments, and everyone had like either chain specific routes and like an e-commerce route or something, where I was trying to incentivize users on their e-commerce transactions without affecting the confidentiality of it. So the use case was very simple. If you want to redeem some offers from these e-commerce sites and you're not eligible for it, but I am, how can you leverage my offers for it? Right. And the only way to do that is sharing your credentials, but that's not the right way to do that. So we build out like an encryption channel that would send out that payment gateway. I'll do the payment on behalf of you, and I'll be incentivized to do that. And I earn rewards. So it was the use case, very simple UI. Got a decent amount of GMV, been done in first 6 months. Then I hit some legal locks, of course, because I was handling e-commerce layer with a payment layer and then a crypto layer. I was like, I didn't anticipate that part. It was a post actual product to go out and hit some legal locks. Like everyone was telling that make it compliant, make it compliant. And I'm like, I don't know how to do that. So I reached out to some folks and they said that we can help you. They introduced me to one of the largest payment providers out there. Um, they just asked like, what's your goal with this? Said, I don't know. Like, and we had conversations. I gave them some thoughts, inputs, uh, working around homomorphic encryption, FHE as a tech. Uh, and they said like, yeah, this is interesting for us. Are you open to handing this all over to us? And we take it forward. So that was like an acquisition offer. I accepted that because I had zero clue. And for me, that amount was huge, like 200K at those days. For me, it was like, yeah, of course. And that was like acquired. And that's when I got like my first capital in to experiment things out. Then like my brother introduced me to like various things, paid like he was the first one to introduce the term Bitcoin to me. We technically, had to pitch to my dad up to our, like both of us had to pitch to dad in terms of investing or giving us some capital. And yeah, that was our first pitch, getting some money to invest. We did that, and that gave me some more interest towards crypto altogether. That's when the journey started. Then got introduced to Post and Seymour, or I think this was when Hitesh, and a couple of other folks were also there. The Panshu was there, and early days. So that's when got introduced to you guys, all thanks to initial days of persistence where we got to know a lot about Cosmos overall. And yeah, after that, when primarily focusing on infra across the board. So yeah, that's been the journey.
Yes, amazing. And what do you think are some of the most exciting use cases that you see now with Nodeops, and few things that you feel are untapped to do that you would want to go after?
First year, our focus was purely on nodes, like just ensure that everything that we can do around it is completely tapped into, be it like one-click validator setup, be it like running your BitTensor miners where you don't have anything else but just capital, and you want to deploy your own miners, we can help in setting those up, and you can start contributing to the BitTensor ecosystem as well, or be it all these node sales that happened. We introduced Notepad, we introduced Node bootstrapping, all of it been done for 2024. I think the biggest thing for us was, all right, you cracked one offering where, we knew that the target audience can be retail and B2C, where we just onboard them and take care of all the pain from them. But there are some users who would really like to have these nodes deployed on their own machines and who would really like to have full control of the entire hardware itself, entire infrastructure itself. How do you do that? That's when we decided to launch Atlas, which gives us like huge flexibility. So Atlas Network today is like a dual side marketplace. Providers can come in and bring their machines. Users can deploy their anything that they want, be it nodes, be it EJs, be it like even like a sandbox environment or do it like a contract. All they want is like a compute framework, and we built that compute framework now. The first step for us with Atlas Network was to bootstrap the supply side, because we already knew the demand that we can bring in by all the business that we've done so far and what's gonna happen in next 3 to 4 months as well. So yeah, Atlas Network launched with like the inside device testnet, um, with an intent for anyone to come in as a compute provider. We started our points program. So far, I think we've got 11,000 compute providers, more than 350K wallets registered and participating on that testnet within 4 weeks. And that was insane. Like people still love to participate there, and we gamified the entire experience. So now our offerings goes much more beyond nodes. It gives us flexibility to introduce Atlas Network as like a very general purpose compute marketplace where you don't have to worry about hunting for use cases, because we can provide those templates and anyone can come in and provide their templates on this marketplace and start earning royalties on top of it, get the revenue share, all of it, and build it out in a very permissionless manner. With the testnet was just one experiment where we wanted to bootstrap the supply side to see how we can reach out to like a very distributed set of compute providers, and it worked. It worked so far. There are 12,000 machines registered. Of course, there are some retail folks who doesn't even know how to run a machine or maintain it, but they're still experimenting at it, and that's a win for us because we wanted that. Of course, they would get these machines suspended if they don't meet the criterias, but that's fine. At least they tried it out. We incentivize them and will ensure that we make it much more easier for them, by ensuring that they can also lease the machines with us if needed and just be part of the economy. So that's what we are launching with Atlas Network, where Nodeops would primarily focus on B2C with all the things around nodes. But Atlas just gives us much more flexibility to introduce more offerings. It presented as a marketplace. And when you say it as a marketplace, you get an opportunity to introduce as many templates as you want. That node was one of the template. Agents is going to be one of the template. AI sandbox environment is going to be one of the templates. Contracts, anything that you feel like can be powered by our compute layer, we're going to introduce that. So that's the game plan, where Atlas Network core contributors would just go out and try to have more and more B2B integrations wherever it's possible. So yeah, that's the game plan for us with Atlas right now.
All right. And do you think about competition? Like, or the thought process is whatever you're doing, you got to do that irrespective of the competition is, or you look at competition when you're thinking about making these decisions to what you're building?
With Nodeops, it was a different game. When we launched console, I don't think, to the best of our knowledge, for first 4 months, there was no competitor out there in terms of supporting these type of use cases. With Atlas, definitely, because it's in the compute space, in the DePIN space, you have so many players out there. Akash, Ether, Ionet, Renders, all of these guys, HypeMapper, like all of these guys have got like a really good GPU supply and taste sign-up. And with Atlas, my focus and the entire strategy right now is just focus on the CPU side of stuff, where we can enable the same target audience that we have right now and cater to their needs first, so that we make it like a demand first bootstrapping of supply. So from the competitor standpoint, I think with Atlas Network, it's still early to call it like a competitor to Akash, but based on the numbers on our testnet, I think we can clearly sit at a strong stance in the entire DePIN space. And Nodeops did 2.5 million revenue for 2024. That now once we launch with Atlas and take it on chain on day one, of course, still with off-chain revenue, we can still go out with being in the top 10 DePIN projects in terms of revenue growth of 2024. But with Atlas Network going on chain, we're going to bring this entire nodes, entire revenue on chain on day one. So that gives us an upper edge to essentially marry Nodeops users and Nodeops console nodes with Atlas Network Marketplace, and essentially be the best in the game. Because for us, two things that we'll definitely be focusing on is going to be revenue, users, like ensure that every user out there gets the best experience in when they are working or using our products.
Sorry. And only like I read like went through the report, the annual report, went through the numbers, very impressive. Um, least to mention. But like what do you think goes wrong in general Web3 or like crypto mindset to not focus on revenue? While focus on like, getting the token out there, capturing more people, community, and just like you hoping that that would translate into something. But most of the projects for a very long time have no revenue. Um, what is that switch do you feel you have to ensure that you are thinking constantly about revenue, and how do you make that happen?
First advice would be to just have someone in the team that thinks about numbers every time. Honestly, like you need that guy who is clearly thinking about the business standpoint of view. Like when you get a BD team been built, you actually need someone who's thinking about these are the numbers that we want to target. And if you ask anyone from those verticals, they would never talk about number of followers or number of on-chain wallets as the metrics to shill. They'll talk about number of deals, number of sales well done, number of active paid users, all of those metrics which are unknown, unfortunately, right now in Web3 because, yeah, the go-to-market is very different. Everyone, like if you don't have a market fit, I think you'll have to find other ways to go out with your token launch and stuff, right? And you saw hype, right? With the way Hyperliquid did it overall. Product first, demand first, did a decent amount of volume, and then went out with their token launch. They had points program for a while, converted that, incentivized the early users, early customers. And that's what I feel, right now. For me, like since day one of this launch, I have to answer to a team which is literally unknown to this world. Trust me, like all these engineers that we've hired so far, they come from like almost 60% to 70% of them come from like an infra background. And they look at the annual reports of like Fortune 500 companies, right? So they would look at where you're valued at, what revenue are you making. You need to be answerable to them as well. So for me, that was a good thing, that every time we onboarded a new client, devs had full flexibility to ask us questions, what volume can you anticipate? What business are you looking at? And that was a good experiment for us internally in the team as well. Like if we are not answerable and if we ourselves doesn't know what we are selling out, then that's a big fault. So there was one thing that we clearly focused on is ensuring that every deal that we get in, we know the clear number and we have the clear number in mind. We know the clear plan to reach out to those numbers and keep that in focus. Like, as I said, like we don't want to mess up revenue numbers at all. Like, because I think that is something that's clearly missing in Web3 right now because there are so many other factors involved, right? You need to, if you post EG, you need to maintain the token liquidity and stuff as well. If you are having a huge amount of community, Nodeops is not about that amount of like people get like 100K to like 125K community members, 75K are your users, remaining is just the spot. I don't count Twitter as our community, right? Twitter is purely social community. When I say community, these are users that are actively engaging with us in one way or the other. So to engage with them, like they definitely want to look at the services that you can bring in. And from like the BD perspective or from a founder's perspective for me, it was always that are we able to monetize it? That's like just one line. If we are able to monetize it, we're going to grab that opportunity. If we are not, stay away from it. Because for like definitely revenue plays a very important role from any DePIN project if you go out as well, right? Masari's report, it all talks about the revenue overall, right? Virtuals, everyone knows virtuals. You know the revenue that they've done, and that has been the big validation factor for the in terms of that this product actually works, right? And because if traders or if users are paying on your products, that's how you get to validate that you're going to make revenue in. That is one metric that definitely, you know, we need to talk a bit more about it. We need to ensure that we're able to support more products on top of it to like just find those revenue models and revenue streams as well. I think, if you're not launching a chain, I think from a product standpoint, these metrics do matter.
Understood. And so in all the conversations that we have had, the word mess up comes very often. Oh, is this like fear of failure? Is it your past experiences? What does lead to like this kind of like resistance to like not mess up?
I think both of us can answer this very clearly. But yeah, you, you learn from mistakes, you learn from your past, and of course, not everything that I've done so far throughout my life had been like picture perfect. There had been some mistakes, there had been some failures where we couldn't reach to an extent where you thought even after giving everything, like every literal thing that you could, be it capital, be it time, be it cutting off everything else from social front, uh, distancing yourself away from family, not having anyone to talk to. Like I've done all those mistakes in the past over last like from 21 to 20, like mid 22 or end of 22. Like I've gone to that stage of doing these mistakes, and that's why like that helped a lot. Like when we started with Nodeops, like everyone we hired, like the first promise to them was like I can be literally write it in your agreement that for next 5 years you're never gonna have financial trouble. And I can write it in your agreement that you're gonna have like the best experience out there in terms of culture. And that's why like the team is so strongly connected. And even on weekends, like they tend to spend more time together and like just have the best. This is what you really want. Like we built it out as a family because everyone here had trusted either me or Pratik or JD and came in, and that's what we play our bets on, because you can have the same team to build out as many products as you want, right? But you cannot have different teams with different mindset, with different product approach and still build it all under one umbrella. That's not how it could work. So learned it previously from some experiences, bought those and ensure that we don't repeat those mistakes ever. And yeah, just don't think about the past. Like we both have come way beyond that.
Yeah. And so when you say like build that culture, that love, what do you think are those pillars for that culture? Well, three things that you have to ensure, like what you have done to build this culture in Nodeops. What would be those?
I think consistency overall. Second one is just an open environment to then to interact, like having those friendly vibes overall. And third one was just innovation. We I would say ideation, not innovation. Like we had every alternate weeks, as I said, like we used to think about ideas together. We could have launched agents 4 months back, honestly. Like during one of our ideathon, Pratik came up with something. There were architecturally there are 7 different agents we used, but like of course not every bet you place can be timed perfectly. So we thought that let's just take some time to validate Atlas first and then launch it. So that ideation part was also one important aspect of culture where everyone like there is one hidden gem within the team that comes out with unexpectedly comes out with the most craziest idea, and Anil said And we every alternate week there used to be a new winner overall in this ideathon, and I liked it. Those like that was most important for us. So these three definitely.
And so we talked about numbers. We have talked about how much growth you have had. The amount of like big projects that you have supported through this journey, including like Cobb and you guys are doing for SoFon and multiple, all of those very, very well reputed projects. But still, there is this struggle of like making sure that people like kind of give you that respect. Do you think there is an tax for being an Indian founder?
Like for first, like after the fundraise, I always used to get this like before fundraise, no one knew who Naman is like or what we're doing like except was using Nodeops. They know because we used to be on Discord talking to them and mailing them across. But um, I personally think that that's no longer a problem, to be honest. Yes, there were challenges. Yes, you have to go beyond the limits to ensure that people feel comfortable working with you because, yeah, that perception is going to stay forever. But you can't just like take a back foot because of it, right? And one learning for me was like after some point of time, I just decided that I don't literally care about it right now. All I would focus on is proving that whatever we've built so far is actually working, actually been used, and here are the numbers for you. That is it. And that worked out. But yes, I've faced it multiple times, and I know all of us had, but that's not the excuse for not building it out, right? And no one stops us. Every time you ask for help to any of the Indian founders, like at least they are open to go beyond the limits to support you because they know the journey that they've gone through as well and they'll help you throughout. But that was very important for me to accept the fact, that I have to go beyond the limits. And that's why I had to travel so much last year, like literally like 62 or 63 flights overall. And if we did that because we knew that, majority of the team is from India. But now if you look at it, Nodeops today, out of 20 members, 7 members are, demographically from different regions. And that takes like huge amount of efforts to ensure that they feel comfortable working with us as well. Because, Indians have always got that mentality to ship out with like the picture perfect and go with an aggressive nature to go out. And they would definitely need some time to adopt to it. But I think that's a good match to have because you get opinions from all the verticals and you can place the bets really nicely. And yeah, initially it used to affect me a lot, but after some point of time, I was just like, keep your heads down, keep laser focused on one thing, and it should solve a lot of things for you. So that's why, like, whenever I go out, I ensure that we represent Nodeops like very proudly because whatever we've done, like I'm 100% sure, could not have been achieved if the entire team was not like sitting together, working together, literally eating together and staying together as well to some extent. And I'm very proud of it. Like there is no doubt about efforts that each individual from the team put in. So definitely uh, not thinking about it anymore.
Right. Do you think a lot of Indian founders take that as an excuse to not go through that first phase of that struggle and to like outwork other people? Is that the reason why we hear this so much?
Um, to be honest, the avenues for them to like even for us, right? Or even for you, if I remember as well, like for us, we at least had that background to understand what it takes to go there, right? But if you ask for a first-time founder, he'll still have that fear to start, right? And once they are beyond that fear, they'll go beyond the limits to ensure that they get it until they reach that stage, right? And we've seen so many, like I know personally invested into a couple of them, so I know that these founders are pivoting, working on it, but not giving up, and that's a good thing. Like until and unless you get that final market fit, It's absolutely fine. The important thing is you are consistent enough to and not giving up. Like that's what I respect and ensure that if I see someone be consistent, that's the only thing you want because they will try it out. Every experiment, they'll learn something, incorporate it, and build out something crazy one day. So, yes, that sometimes for a first time founder becomes a blocker. But I think, yeah, we definitely need to do a better job in talking to them, convincing them. And I told you that as well last Saturday that would like for me, 2025, one promise I've made to myself is just talk to these guys. Uh, just very honestly be like a friend to them to understand, what are the challenges that you're facing and very like bluntly. Sometimes they also feel that, you know, if I tell this, I'll be ashamed of it. They have those second thoughts in terms of confessing. Nothing is wrong with it. Like if something is going wrong, just talk about it, right? And talk to someone who you can trust. And I'm trying to build that trust with them by engaging with them some way or the other, contributing to them and ensure that they don't face the same obstacles that I've gone through or every other founders recently have gone through as well.
So, and if you have to just like say one last thing that you feel is like most exciting as well as most challenging being a founder at the same time, what that would be?
Most exciting, every day you get up like my life had been monotonous throughout for last one, but every day I get up, like the minute I hit my workout session, like I feel excited enough to go back and just sit with guys and build and ship. Like that's the most exciting aspect because I think every fourth day we have released something. We were doing analysis, like devs have contributed 100K lines of code. Pratik himself have committed like 100, literally 100K likes of code. So that was like insane metrics, and I got excited looking at it. Like, how can we double that overall? So for me, like getting up and just looking at what you're gonna ship today is the most exciting phase. Challenging one is keeping them motivated 24 by 7. Like, of course, everyone would have so many external factors that may either demotivate them or that will literally deviate them from what they're doing as well. And that's the most challenging part. To just ensure that the trust remains. They still feel motivated and inspired enough to build this out and make it like the next 100x thing for them, and hit those metrics. Um, like every month we used to have this number in mind, that we want to reach to this number, we want to crack these revenue numbers, or we want to crack this user growth. And now we're like beyond that stage. Now the focus is how we can keep this user adoption in place, how we're able to bring in more offerings and think beyond that. So challenging challenging aspect is once you've reached a certain limit, the expectation of the entire team would go up, and you need to ensure that they remain grounded up and that they remain grounded to ensure that just one step at a time, incrementally, if we keep on pushing it, it would shape out really well. And Atlas is a real live example of it. Like 3 months of time we took it to build end to end. Um, in that globe thing, I don't know if you've opened that, but zero to testnet or Atlas Sandbox.xyz, that in that globe itself, like it was just a thought in Bangkok, like November, it was Bangkok, right? So it was just a thought that how can we make it more innovative to participate in the testnet.
I saw that like you see all the nodes popping
Oh
up.
yeah, so there is like quest and nodes popping up, and you just have to click on it. You can participate. So it was just a thought, and literally during those orchestration hack that we did in Bangkok, like JD himself came out with this in like a week's time, and that was the most challenging part for me. That engineering is going like really quick now. How do we ensure that we're able to reach to those numbers now? So we always had that battle between the teams, and very healthy battle. Like if they ship for fast, we need to ensure that we compete and bringing them the numbers so that their tech, scales up as well. So yeah, those are certain things in terms of exciting and challenging.
Nice. Any three predictions for 2045 for Atlas Nodeops for yourself, except getting married?
Yeah, that's not prediction anymore. that bet is taken now. First one definitely, I think at least you would see Nodeops to be shaping out as like one of the top 5 DePIN projects out there because we've followed demand first approach. We are top tier in terms of revenue, but now with more use cases coming in, we should hit top 5, and that's the target. That's one thing. Secondly is, of course, aiming for TG very soon. Let's see how that comes out. But yeah, just want to ensure that our early users always gets the best benefit and we're able to retain them for long. That's second. And like third prediction overall is, I think, yeah, we'll have those petabytes of compute under management very soon. That's one metric that I'm dreaming of, but not with the existing providers, but from retail to government. Like that would be an interesting bet and prediction that we have. Like if you're able to reach to those limits and if you're able to cater, I think we win the game. Let's see how it goes.
Awesome. And thank you so much, Raman, for doing this. I've known for you for such a long time, but now to finally see this journey and being on like actively on the conversations and finally now realizing a lot of these lessons, taking back to even like filament is like very interesting. So thank you so much for doing
Thank
this.
you so much. Thank you so much for definitely posting me as well. Personally, been looking up to everything that Filament is doing so far. Insanely good journey. I'm gonna have like we'll turbo tables next time because I have so many questions to ask. Because yeah, I think when I look at your journey as well, with starting with initially when we both together started with something to within a team, like personally been following it since then, and super great to see the way Filament have come out and the products that you were talking about. It definitely feels good to have that product mindset as the first, and super excited for the Filament team as well.
Oh, sorry. Amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you.